Yo, welcome on in. Greetings and salutations. This your boy Bruce. We gonna do what we normally do. We gonna put the ones to the twos and we gonna mix this shit up, alright? So sit back, get chill. Let me get this shit popping I'm gonna get it popping like Crisco. I keep it popping like bacon in your favorite skillet. Your boy is smooth as a jar Skippy. I'm gonna keep it popping. So let's go ahead and touch some shit. Alright, let's go. Hey, yeah, I be doing a little something, a little something. I don't be fronting, I don't be stunting. Hey, watch me do a little something and no fronting. Guaranteed I walk around not stunting. Stacking paper up to the ceiling while you keep on talking. Homeboy, I see demons. Steaming like Willie Beeman. Run over, hit you in the head with the beamer. Hey, keep it tight, keep it moving, man. Yeah. Hold on. There you go. Yeah. Hey, Keela, go lay down, baby. Go lay down, puppy. See, we don't switch this up. Alright. You gotta take that love potion to the depth, Black Rock depths. Ooh. Nice catch. Alright, let's see. Let's see what I can do. I'm about to do some leveling. Actually, I think I need to finish off my professions before I hit 70 and then start leveling again. Mm, mm, mm. I bet that's all caught up with. Made like 9 jizzles. Send this to Big. Those two as well. I'll send that to Big. Send those to Big. Shot. I think it was a shot. Send that. Let's see. Well, thank you. Turtle meat don't need that. Do, do. Just a Jabzakal. Jabzakal. Ja. Job. Zakal. Whatever. Jobzakal. Whatever. Jobzakal. It's right. Just mine. Staff of protection. I mean, that has some stuff to it. That's nice. Enchanted rune cloth bag, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna have to get jiggy on some rune cloth. Lots of rune cloth. Let me see where that rune cloth be at. That's moon cloth. I need rune cloth. Hey. What y'all doing? Going to the store? All right. Hey, what do you got running in your room that's got internet running? Yeah, that's on the Wi-Fi or any of that. No, 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 no. I was just wondering if it was just one person, because one person shouldn't affect my shit like this. No, no, no. I don't think it's you. I think it's something else. I gotta call the internet provider then, because this is for them. All right. No, but still, I should. I'm straight dropping frames, but but I'm not losing internet connection. I'm just dropping frames to be dropping. It's the dumbest shit alive. You're fine. I was just wondering if there was something like downloading or something. Then yeah, this thing is just acting stupid. You're fine. Um, I wonder. It's saying Eastern Plague Lands. I mean, the number one is Burning Steeps, but so let this just be better, or Eastern Plague Lands. Let me see what this is. Twilight's Reign. Yeah, they ain't gonna show it to me. That town right there, Eastern Plague Lands, I already know it drops. I feel like going all the way up there. Well, I could go there. There's a lot of those dudes. You know what? There's a lot of those dudes over there. What am I talking about? And I got teleports. Hold on. Uh, I mean, Iron Force, easiest. Fuck is this?
time when the year is new and the moon shines bright. It is our time when the ancients awake. It is good to know the people of this land still pay homage to the olden races. I bid you well, adventurer, and offer you this token.
I think I need to go to all the capital cities and hit that. Oh, mailbox. Juicy fruits for sale. Juicy fruits. Is there really no shit? There's really no mailbox over here? Oh no, it's on the other fucking side. What am I doing? Wait a minute. That's the king's quarters. I gotta go through here. Make short nasty. That's a name. Arenas. No, ain't no claw vendor. Okay, so I don't got any fucking Grand Marshal. I guess I'm flying all the way up there that way, huh? Do, 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 do.
Might have fast steed, but can those airy pink griffins stand the heat of the great forge? I think not.
Let's just go to Western Plague Lands. I'm gonna put on. I got my trinket on. I'm gonna just go over there and smack some undead. Pick up some goods. I don't even think I need silk anymore. Actually, I'm up to heavy wool, right? I don't think I need mage weave anymore because yeah, I'm on rune cloth. Five. Looks like as low as I can get it is 5. Ghost die. But don't I gotta make ghost? Ain't ghost die made from ghost? I don't think you buy it. I'll find out in a second when I get where I'm going. Look like 5 is the lowest we're gonna get it. So every stack makes one item. That's rough. That's rough as shit. And my jewel crafting's over 300. Oh wow, there's no guy from. Mm, mm, 300 for. 'Alright. Those all vendor learned, okay. Yeah, that shit don't even show. I don't need to get off yet. I gotta go down a ways. Sorry, I'm just doing something real quick. Mm, mm, mm.
Nor that this is, quite frankly, un-American and illegal.
The nomination is confirmed.
We also visit the U.S. Senate side. So this is it. This is the office.
This is the office. Yeah, yeah. Senator Boxer was here, and Kamala Harris, and Senator Butler.
Senator Adam Schiff welcomes us into his new U.S. Senate office.
And I understand this is your first interview ever done in this space.
That's right. That's what I do all the firsts with you on the issue.
Thank you so much for being here for our first show.
Schiff joined us for our first ever show.
Great to make the announcement on your show.
Launched the Senate campaign on our show. Adam Schiff did his first Senate debate with us.
And this is the desk.
And is now giving us his first tour after winning the seat once held by Senator Dianne Feinstein.
Is Dianne Feinstein original?
Schiff won his race for that seat the same night his longtime opponent, Donald Trump, won back the presidency.
What does the Trump administration mean specifically for California?
Well, it means that we're going to have to work hard to make sure that we're not in a constant collision with the president, that we protect California's interests and our values, but at the same time, look for opportunities to work together to bring down costs, to build more housing. There's plenty of area to overlap, but a lot will depend on whether the president simply wants to make war on our state.
We've seen this flurry of executive orders, 200 actions in day one. What specifically does that mean for our state? What's the big top lines you're looking at?
Some of them will have a unique impact. First is tariffs. If we have these massive tariffs in other countries, That means in terms of a lot of our industries, like the agriculture industry, they're going to be just really hard hit. Prices on food and other things are going to go up even more. Similarly, if he carries out recommendations, it will not only split up a lot of families and children separated from their parents, but it means a lot of farm workers won't be on the farm. Food prices will go up even further.
We know you and Trump have gone back and forth for many years. What's it like for you to sit there and watch him be a conflict?
Well, I'll have to admit, yesterday was rough in many ways. To sit in Statuary Hall to see a president inaugurated who had incited a violent attack on that very building, and then later that day, watching 1,550 people that were involved in that attack on the Capitol, including something like 170 people who beat police officers and gassed them to give them pardons. That was tough, I think, because what it says to other lawbreakers is if you commit violence on his behalf, there's a good chance that you may get off scot-free.
Meanwhile, you also got a pardon from President Biden. Come on our show and said that it's not a good idea, don't do this, and yet he did it anyways. What's your reaction to that?
Well, I continue to think that it was unwise and unnecessary, and that it sets a bad precedent. I think we can expect to pardon his family members on the way out of office. And since he has just come into office, it kind of tells his family members they have carte blanche to do whatever they want, to cross whatever lines they want to cross, because they can expect a pardon on the way out the door. This was my concern, frankly, with the whole preemptive pardon. You know, the origin of all this is the threats, the improper threats by Trump. But nevertheless, I don't know.
Why do you think President Biden didn't listen to you?
Well, I don't know. Never discussed it with him. So I really don't know. I suspect he thinks that the president will make good on his threats. President Trump will make good on his threats, and that regardless of what he might do in the pardon issue, Trump was going to do whatever he would do with his own pardons. I assume that was part of the reasoning.
You know, we've been talking to you for years, and this is something I know you've thought about for years, to be here in the Senate, in this office that Kamala Harris was in, that Barbara Boxer was in this physical office. What's it like for you to physically be here?
Well, it is a responsibility to represent the whole state. It's exciting to be able to fight for folks in the far north and the far south, tackle new issues like the Gulf Sea or the Tijuana River crisis. And now we have this massive heartbreak in these fires that are all my constituents. Part of the area Dina I used to represent for decades. And I can't tell you how many people I know personally in both Altadena and the Palisades who have lost everything. So it's also been really heavy responsibility. But I'm very proud and mindful of the history, not just of this physical office, but this is the seat that Dianne Feinstein occupied, and she was such a giant. Gives me a big model to follow.
So a little bit of home here in the office to level set.
California's senior senator Alex Padilla is now in the same physical office Senator Feinstein once occupied.
This is the last thing I would have imagined that I was growing up.
Padilla is California's first Latino senator, and he has reminders about his heritage all over the office, including a tribute to Cesar Chavez.
Goes back to his very first when I was
Being a lot of action on immigration so far. Your reaction?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, we made it clear during the course of the campaign we wanted to support the net effect of the executive orders that I've seen them thus far are not only to make it impossible for anybody to come to the United States, which, look, I agree, we need a border that is orderly and controlled, but also humane, but also to deport the people who have lived here in the United States, when most came lawfully and maybe overstayed a visa, or they came with their parent lawfully, but they've aged out of those protections. That's going to have a real impact And you want to look at the construction industry, for example. How many immigrants work in that field? We're trying to rebuild Los Angeles. We're going to have less workers to be able to do so. Costs are going to go up. It's going to take longer. Care about food prices. Who is it that works in the fields and in food processing facilities? Get rid of those workers, cost of food is going to go up. I thought it's going to take away from the November elections was people being concerned about inflation and prices.
So,
Such actions
Trump
seem to be opposite.
Trump says that's not what he's going after. He says he's going after illegal immigrants who had committed other crimes and potentially get rid of felons, take them out of jail. What's wrong with that?
Well, out of the details, if it was just targeting violent offenders, I would agree with that. Democrats agree with that. But he'll say that in one speech and then turn right around and promise the largest mass deportation in our nation's history. So how do you reconcile the two? Because the vast majority of immigrants, documented and undocumented, are not violent criminals. So he keeps going back to that rhetoric from his first presidential campaign, right, of the rapists and the drug dealers and all of that. So I'm hoping for the best, but I got to prepare California for the worst.
How are you doing that?
We're working with our state counterparts to make sure that there's an information campaign that immigrants to know their rights. To try to work with not just state and cities, but through philanthropy to help support maybe legal guidance and even representation through the process. And do what we can here in Washington to push President Trump, push the departments and agencies that are going to be implementing this in that more strategic direction of
Yeah, I knew I'd find them.
violent offenders.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
What if you're targeting, kids stealing bubble gum from a store? That's resources, time, and energy that's not being at the violent offender. So let's be smart about this
Before we head out, a moment of fun.
while we can.
There it is.
Go Dodgers.
Sorry,
Rose and
Giants
blue.
fan.
Different conservative commentator, Dave. Vance ahead of his inauguration as vice president. We sat down with him while in Washington this week and talked about Donald Trump's widespread appeal.
He is now bringing together the widest coalition that I think for guys of a certain age we have ever seen in our political lifetime. The idea that Donald Trump is coming in with Tulsi Gabbard, who literally ran as a Democrat 4 years ago, right? Bobby Kennedy, who ran as a Democrat literally now only was a Democrat his entire life until the last couple of years. And the laundry list goes on and on. And people like me and many others, and Joe Rogan, and this long list of people. It's like to move the margins to the margin where they belong. Take a Y stand. What does the Y stand stand for? It stands for America. And what does that mean? Well, it's having borders and believing in capitalism, and believing that the country is removing some of this woke stuff and neo-racism. I think that that's what this all represents, and so that's why I think the mood of the country is quite good.
So you used to support the Democratic Party. Democratic Party is at a crossroads right now, an inflection point, and it seems like they could go left or go more towards the center. Where do you think the party goes, and what would your advice be to the party?
In a normal situation, I think that there should be a healthy between Republicans and Democrats, between liberals and conservatives. I think that's good as a pluralistic democracy with over 300 million people. That's somewhat fighting the bill. Unfortunately, what's happened with the Democrats is they've gone so all in on some of the more radical left stuff. I honestly think that that's the country, really the destruction of and then maybe a cycle or two down the way, they can get rid of the wokesters and the phoenix can rise out of the ashes. But for now, I just think they've made their choice. They ran the worst candidate possible. Representation of the woke machine, and America soundly rejected.
Big picture, sort of real concisely, what is your hope for the Trump administration?
Oh, my hope is that they deliver what they've promised. If we fix the border, if we do some deportations, if we get the economy going again, I think it's maybe more than anything else. I mean, are granular and can be done. But I think if we project America as a good force for the world again, that we are the world's leader. Someone's got to lead the world. So unless you want it to be China or you want it to be Russia, then it should be America. I really believe we have a chance to have a 4-year run that will change the course of the country. And then, well, I saw JD last night. It's like that guy's got a pretty bright future behind him, in front of him, I should say. And it's like maybe then there's a 12-year run of this.
Well, let's talk about that. So we saw a picture of you with JD Vance.
Yeah.
What'd you say to him?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, that I was the first podcast that he did when he ran for senator from Ohio. But little known in the political world. And it's not that long ago, ironically. It's only about 4 or 5 years ago.
It's crazy, isn't it?
The guy's rise is like a full house. Talk about somebody being ready to get into the incredible he had. Privately, other than I wish him a lot of luck. I think he's ready to do this, and I think he's excited, and you can feel it, and that's where we started.
Did he express gratitude to you? Did you claim credit for the whole thing?
I didn't claim the credit, but I did put him on, and then, that gave him an opportunity to show people he knew what he was doing.
So it's either all thanks to you or your fault, depending on your perspective.
I guess we'll pick this up in 4 years.
Yeah. Dave Rubin, thank you so much. Always great to talk to you. Great to see you in person.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, Fox's Brett Baer on how Trump is unlike any politician he's ever covered.
We've never seen anything like this.
During Trump's inauguration, close to 11 million people turned to Fox's Brett Baer, more than twice as many viewers as any other network. We sat down with Brett as he was preparing for that inauguration coverage in Washington.
Listen, I think that he's different now. I've noticed in dealing with him. I think he's more comfortable in his skin. I think he's been there before, so he knows a lot more about what he wants to do. And more importantly, the people around him have been preparing for 4 years to do what they're doing. So hence you have all of these things that'll be laid out in the first hours.
You spent a lot of time with him on camera. You spent a lot of time with him off camera. What's he like off camera? What's the behind-the-scenes Donald Trump like?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who know him off camera. I've played golf with him a few times, and I think he's very fun, first of all. And I think that most people, Democrats even when they're in a room with him, know that he works the room and kind of can ask people questions, make them feel like they're the center of the universe in that moment. So he's really good at working a room and talking to people. Now, when he gets something in his mind, he's pretty determined and can say things that everybody goes, wait, why did he say that?
And, he talks a lot about fake news, but he also consumes more news than just about everybody, right? I mean, you think about that sometimes if the president's watching?
Of course, yeah. Sometimes we talk to him directly. Yeah, Mr. President, if you'd like to weigh in, please, shoot us a line.
Yeah, and you hear from him sometimes
Sure,
too, right?
Of course, yeah. He, with a lot of people, not just Fox, with ABC, there's all kinds of reporters that get phone calls just to check in. And I think, listen, for me, that's very helpful. Off-the-record conversations about where his head is, I think, help inform our voters. And, we'll continue to ask tough but fair questions. I've got, some interview requests coming that I think will come around. And hopefully it'll lay out a picture of where he sees the vision for the country.
When we think of this moment, you are the #1 anchor on the #1 network. How do you think about that responsibility, and why do you think that Fox News has become the destination for so many people?
Well, first of all, it's an honor. It's always been an honor to sit in a seat where people were paying attention to political world news, and it's what I love to do. You love to do it too. Yeah. It's an honor when you're sitting in these big moments. So that's how I look at it. #1. #2, I think Fox has been honest with our news coverage. We've covered both sides. We've given Democrats and independents and Republicans a voice to be heard, and it wasn't one-sided. So I think over time, that coverage has... We take that very forceful and good at what they do, and we have a news side. So we're really... We've had a team that's worked together for a long time.
I mean, how do you think about that responsibility of, as the country is witnessing history, millions of them are seeing it in effect through your eyes?
Yeah. Well, it's a big responsibility, and I write books about presidential biographies, and and I've written a number of presidents and looked back at how they've affected different moments in time. And so what I'm doing, anchoring, is real time reporting on history.
Clearly, you're doing a great job. That's why you're number one. Thanks for being so kind to us.
You bet.
Really appreciate it, Brett.
Thank you, Alex.
Thank you.
All right, great conversation there on the issue is as we are now still less than a week into this second Trump term. Brett Baer doing a great job there at Fox News as well. Big thanks to him and big thanks to Alex Michelson for that conversation. A live look right now in Washington, D.C. As you can see the sun peeking through the clouds just past 3:30 on the East Coast here on this Sunday. I'm Andy Mack. We'll get out to more top headlines after this.
Get my loot. Ooh, hiccups.
Continue to detail nominees there for different cabinet positions. He takes at the Secretary of Defense now officially after Vice President weighed in and casting the tie-breaking vote over the weekend. And of course, we're also monitoring coming up this week a
Time to die, fucker.
slate of different confirmation hearings on Capitol Hill, and that includes Robert Kennedy Jr. for health.
What I don't got right now is fear. If I had fear, I'd be a beast. A fucking terror. What I'm talking about, fear the shit out of everybody.
The Director of National Intelligence. So certainly some big news in terms of these new cabinet appointments, nominees. They'll have to go through that process. Contentious hearings on Capitol Hill. We'll take you out to it in full for all of it. And of course, we're also talking about security clearances that were revoked this week by the Trump administration, including those of Mike Pompeo, John Bolton, pulling the security for former officials under threat from Iran. I want to take you right now out to a conversation Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas had on Fox News Sunday. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
He's got a brand new book out, by the way, next month entitled 7 Things You Can't Say About China. And Senator, we'll see if we get to any of those 7 in this conversation. We're definitely going to talk about China, but I want to ask you about the reporting there that Lucas had about the firing of these inspectors general. I've heard of from some of your GOP colleagues who are concerned about this, saying it didn't give the proper notification, even if ultimately it would be. The notice wasn't there, and is President Trump signaling he's just going to, observe which laws he wants to and not others?
Shannon, time and time again, the Supreme Court has said that Congress can't impose restrictions on the president's power to remove officers. In President Trump's first term, he removed the director of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, despite limitations on the president's constitutional power to remove officers. That was litigated at the Supreme Court, and the president won. So ultimately, he served with the pleasure of the president. He wants new people in there. He wants people to focus on getting out the waste fraud and these agencies. He was right for that. That's what he's doing.
Do you think he will? That's the next question, because there have been times when the inspector general's thoughts have been left open by various presidents. Are you confident, because they're your eyes and ears as lawmakers, that they will be filled?
I believe so, and he says he wants to build his offices. Maybe he won't build them immediately because there's an entire administration staff and they have other priorities. But I think the president's inherent power to remove officers will be upheld. Challenging boards has been time and again for Democratic and Republican presidents.
I want to ask you about release former hostages. You were critical of this deal. You have came together. Seems like an approach from President Biden and President Trump. Are you confident in the deal moving forward? Years of progress. We are getting
At the same time, my preference is not to negotiate with terrorists. It gets back to it. They're not destroyed. They were destroyed after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. We didn't negotiate either with Japan. We set up conditions to give us our 40,000 Americans back. Now, that said, the deal is underway. We predicted at the time that Hamas might break the terms of the deal, and that's apparently exactly what happened yesterday. But not saying Israelis as well as women. That's one reason why the Israeli government has paused the relocation of Gazans to certain areas inside of Gaza. I would say if Hamas wants to continue this ceasefire, they need to respect every single term of that deal.
Well, we're watching minute by minute as two other phases are still yet to be negotiated as well. I want to ask you about these hearings this week. Your Senate Intel Committee that you now chair will hear from Tulsi Gabbard, the DNI nominee. She's got plenty of critics out there from both sides of the aisle.
Fragment.
The U.S. National Intelligence Council writing that she's got no background in intelligence whatsoever and has never managed much of anything. Even more worryingly, as someone meant to advise the president and protect our nation's secrets from our adversaries, Gabbard has cozied up to at least two vicious dictators who are America's enemies. There are concerns about her positions with Bashar al-Assad, Edward Snowden, her use of, FISA and those tools and how she feels about them. Are you confident that you've had your questions on those issues addressed?
Yeah, I've had many occasions to speak with Ms. Gabbard, as have the members of the committee and other senators. We got her background checked back along with her financial papers last week. We promptly scheduled a hearing 7 days later as the rules of our committee allow. And I can promise you and all Americans that Tulsi Gabbard is going to have a full hearing on Thursday. It's going to be just like the hearing that we conducted for John Ratcliffe and the hearings that the committee has conducted for nominees for Democratic and Republican presidents alike. No more, no less, no better, no worse. I understand that people have differences of opinion with Ms. Gabbard. Some Republicans disagree with the vote she cast as a Democratic congresswoman. A lot of Democrats may be upset that she finally saw the light and left the Democratic Party. I do hope that we won't see anyone question her patriotism. Hillary Clinton has basically called her a traitor in the past. This is a woman who served 20 years in our Navy Army. She's passed 5 different background checks. I reviewed the latest one. It's clean as a whistle. It's fine for people that policy differences ask questions about the differences. I hope no one
there are reports of both actually quoting not even committee. Are there things about her conversations, her position with regard to Assad or to Putin that raise me concern?
Well, I think there's a lot of people making predictions on background about the president's nominees that don't come true. If you recall, Pete Hegseth in early December was on board withdrawing and being replaced by someone that had Secretary Hegseth, the Department of Defense, has been making a lot of the similar predictions about Donald Trump over the last few years. He's now staged the greatest political comeback in American history. So again, we'll have a full and fair hearing with Ms. Gabbard on Thursday. She will explain her past statements and her votes. She'll explain, I'm sure, also that whatever her views on certain policies,
Damn it. That fucking heel they got is stupid.
And if she's confirmed, she'll give an unbiased and unvarnished look at the intelligence that comes in every day about the nation's threats.
Well, one of those threats you've been long vocal about is China. Let's talk about TikTok, because President Trump seems to be willing to pause the ban on TikTok and to try to work out a deal. There are different conversations and rumors about what may come together, but he's indicated he may be willing to allow some level of Chinese ownership or connection to this. And he gives this explanation to our colleague, Sean Kennedy, about why.
But you can say that about everything made in China. Look, we have our telephones made in China for the most part. We have so many things made in China, so why don't they mention that?
Well, the law that we passed last year is in effect. The law and imposes ruinous consequences on any company that continues to host or distribute TikTok. Not just, at this point, not just liability, but bankruptcy. Those companies like Apple and Google that are following the law and no longer hosting TikTok. But our point in passing that law was never to ban TikTok in the United States. It was to force ByteDance, its parent company that is controlled by the Chinese communists, to divest from TikTok. To have a TikTok that is not influenced by Chinese communists. It's not just a threat to our privacy and data, although it certainly is that. It's a threat because it spreads propaganda like anti-Semitic content and pro-Hamas content. It exposes children to extreme violence, obscenity, drug use, even encouraging suicide. And it can be used as an actual tool of statecraft, as you saw when Congress passed the law. TikTok sent push notices to its users' phones, urging them to contact Congress and lobby against the law. What might they do if Donald Trump imposes tariffs on China, or in a moment of heightened tension around Taiwan? That's why it's critical that there be a complete and total break with communist China. That's exactly what the law insists. As for a deal, I'm not really concerned about whether this American company or that American company best buys it, or for that matter, if we work with partners in places like Europe, Middle East, or East Asia. If it's controlled by an ally, it's very different than it's controlled by communist China.
Okay, I want to try to get to two quick things before you go. While we're on the subject of China, this is a headline from the New York Times yesterday. CIA now favors lab leak theory to explain COVID's origin. This was their headline in February of 2020. Senator Tom Cotton repeats the fringe theory of coronavirus origin. Feels some level of validation.
At the very beginning, COVID probably came from that lab. I didn't have access to classified intelligence or special scientific knowledge. I just used a little common sense and looked at the facts and understood what Chinese communists do. I'm glad that in the final days of the Biden administration, the CIA reached the same conclusion, and I commend John Ratcliffe for making that conclusion public. The important thing now is that we have to make China pay for unleashing this plague on the world, just like we have to make them pay for stealing our jobs and harming American workers and businesses by doing things like imposing tariffs on them, on strategically critical goods, or passing legislation that would kill their permanent most favored nation status.
All right, very quickly before you go, President Trump has taken back this degree detail for a number of people. Anthony Fauci, Mike Pompeo, Brian Hook, among them John Bolton too. Wall Street Journal editorial board says, pray it won't happen, but what if it does? If Iran commits violence against any of these men, Mr. Trump won't be able to
I would encourage the president to revisit the decision for those people who are being targeted by Iran, as the president was targeted for assassination by Iran. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I've reviewed the intelligence in the last few days. The threat to anyone involved in President Trump's strike on Qasem Soleimani is persistent. It's real. Iran is committed to vengeance against all of these people. In fact, the chief of staff of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence agreed with me that if these threats were against him or his family, that he would want security, because the threats are real. There are gaps in our coverage. We don't know what we don't know. It's better to be safe than sorry, because it's not just about these men who helped President Trump get on politics first term. It's about their family and friends, innocent bystanders every time they're in public. Hit good people. If people say they'll press it down, Korea, Mexico drug cartels, they might hesitate to do that. They might hesitate if they're in office to give him the advice he needs or carry out the policies that he decides upon.
Senator, thanks for your time. We'll be watching them.
All right, that was Fox News Sunday. Thank you to James Green for that interview, and with Senator out of Arkansas, Tom Cotton, to learn the latest on his thoughts on a variety of topics. A live look there in Washington, D.C. at the United States Capitol just about 4 o'clock.
Die, motherfucker. Do 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 do. Shut up. Stupid. Stay dead. Fucking smite on me for however long that's on me. That's just PG. Ooh do 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 do.
Our nation's capital 1 week now into the presidency, the second term of President Trump. All right, I'm Andy Mack here. Let's get to some international headlines.
What's that poor mistake given the escalation we are seeing now? And what is your message to troop contributing countries, South Africa, Malawi, Uruguay, that have lost troops in this fight, given the escalation we're seeing?
The withdrawal of MONUSCO was sequential, and it was not a mistake, because in the areas where MONUSCO withdrew, we have seen sustained peace, we have seen progress, and we have seen stability. The challenge that we find ourselves in right now is in areas where MONUSCO is still present. So this has nothing to do with MONUSCO's presence. This has something to do with the fact that a neighboring country, Rwanda, has been permitted by the international community, by its donors, by its partners, to wreak havoc in the DRC, in particular in North Kivu, even in the presence of United Nations peacekeeping troops, with one of the most robust mandates of the United Nations. What I say to troop contributing countries, and this is very important because Rwanda itself is one of the UN's largest troop contributing countries, is that this crisis is not a DRC specific crisis. This should compel all troop contributing countries to engage in a robust conversations with the United Nations, with DPKO, on what it means to be a troop contributing countries. How is it permissible that a country, one of the largest troop contributing countries, gets away with killing peacekeepers, as peacekeepers from South Africa, Malawi, Uruguay were killed in less than 24 hours. This is unacceptable. It is a violation of all the principles of the United Nations. And I think that every self-respecting truth-contributing country, such as South Africa, has also a responsibility, but also a right to have an answer from the UN as to what standards it applies when it engages and how it holds partners accountable.
respect international law. Thank you.
Madam Foreign Minister, my name is Gabriel Osondo from Al Jazeera News Channel. Two questions. One is, how confident are you that your forces can hold off the M23 and Rwandan forces that are now less than 10 kilometers outside of Goma? How confident are you that that can be, that you can hold Goma and Rwanda? Targeted sanctions against Rwandan officials. Are you disappointed that that has not happened up until now, and that here we are at this stage still calling for that?
To answer first the question of our assessment of the security situation, it is a tense situation. We are following and monitoring it. We are grateful for the support and the resilience of our own armed forces, but also the presence and the support of soldiers as well as SADC troops. I will not delve into speculations. I am confident in the resolve of all involved forces to uphold the territorial integrity of the DRC and, most importantly, protect the civilian lives which are at stake right now. Now, when it comes to sanctions and to the absence thereof, more importantly, of course we're disappointed. Of course we're disappointed because as an African country, how often is it that we have to listen to the lessons, that we have to listen to what we ought to be doing, the rules we are to be following, and at the same time find ourselves and see that the rules that we all consider to be precious are being violated with such impunity. So there is, of course, a level of frustration, but frustration does not mean resignation, and we will always remind the international community of its responsibility, in particular the United Nations Security Council. We will never, ever tire of reminding it of that, reminding it of its responsibility, but also its failure to act when it is the case. And for the past 3 years, the Security Council has failed the Congolese people. It has not acted, it has not held the people accountable who are directly linked to the chain of commands linking the RDF and the M23, chain of commands that lead all the way back to Kigali.
One quick follow-up, if you may, Madam Foreign Minister. Are you also disappointed in the Secretary General that he has not been more forceful in calling out Rwanda specifically?
There have been in the past,
I don't need none of that shit.
Hours, 2 statements from the Secretary General. We welcome these statements. They were clear, they were robust, and they reflected also the urgency of the situation. However, we are also cognizant that since the renewed insurgency of the M23 started in 2022, the DRC raised the alarm. For the past 3 years, we have been raising the alarm. And yes, we have taken note of how long it took the different partners that we are working with, the different partners that we believe share our ideals. We are cognizant of the fact that it took them a very long time. It's not just an issue of the Secretary General. When you look at the Security Council, we still have permanent members that have yet to utter the word Rwanda. And we have some that have done so for the first time a month ago. This is work in progress. And as I said before, we will not tire of defending our values, our people, but also of holding everyone accountable towards the responsibility that they have as member states of the United Nations or as public servants.
Can flag, fuck him all up.
That the alliance that the FARDC has with SAMI DRC, Burundian troops and others, including the FDLR that it recognizes as a genocide force, constitutes a major security threat to Rwanda. How do you respond to that? The accusation of the FARDC work with the FDLR?
Well, I think we ought to be looking at the situation on the ground right now. The situation on the ground right now is that a city such as large as Goma, with millions of civilians, is being taken in an onslaught by the Rwandan Defense Forces and the M23. Granted, every country is allowed to feel preoccupied by its safety. This is a legitimate concern, and I am not questioning it. But we have to have a clear distinction between the concern and the reality. And the reality right now is, yes, maybe Rwanda is concerned with its territorial integrity, but the DRC is the country whose territorial integrity is being violated by Rwanda. It is the DRC and the Congolese people who are being killed right now. So yes, their fears are legitimate, but they are not real. They have not materialized. We are the ones being killed. We are the ones being violated, and Rwanda is responsible for that. And this is just a very shameful way shy away from responding to such a responsibility that Rwanda bears. I will take note of that, and again, history will never forget, and probably will forget. Thank you.
Press conference after this United Nations emergency meeting about the violence that was erupted in the Congo. So we're following that very closely here online and now Fox International Headline as we are just now moving into a new hour, 4 o'clock on the East Coast. And of course, a live look right now in our nation's capital as we anticipate several more confirmations. Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. That's scheduled for Wednesday. Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard for Thursday. For more on this right now, let's go out to my colleague, Deborah Cunyu, as she previews what's to come.
For a very busy second week, already making sweeping changes and issuing hundreds of executive orders after he was sworn in as the 47th president last Monday. One of the biggest issues, of course, cabinet confirmations as we look ahead to the coming week. We are expecting a number of cabinet choices to have their confirmation hearings. And for more on this, I do want to bring in political analyst Henry Olsen. Henry, good morning to you, and thank you for taking the time to join us on Live Now from Fox.
Thanks for having me on.
So I do want to get to looking ahead to this coming week. We are expecting some of President Trump's cabinet selections to have their confirmation hearings. We know that RFK Jr. as Health Secretary, Kash Patel as CIA Director, they are scheduled to have their hearings this week. So far, we don't know about Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of National Intelligence, but what are we keeping a very close eye on? There was a close call with Pete Hegseth. He ultimately was confirmed, voted in as Secretary of Defense. Are you expecting any contentious hearings this coming week?
I think Gabbard's is going to be, if not contentious, revealing and potentially outcome determinative. What McConnell's no vote signifies is that he is going to take a continuation of the 1980s to 2010 era Republican consensus in defense policy very seriously. I'd be shocked if he were a yes on Tulsi Gabbard. So that means if that's right, she's already lost the 3 votes that the Republicans can afford to lose, because she's not going to get Murkowski and Collins, and only one more vote would fit that. And there's going to be that one more vote after the hearing. RFK Jr., I think, is in a better position because he is actually well known. You take a look at public polls and people know who he is. He's got nationally high name ID, and it's roughly split 50-50. There are Democrats and independents who like RFK Jr. That means somebody like a John Fetterman who wants to play I can play with both sides would actually have an incentive to say yes to RFK. And that might balance off if a pro-life Republican who is persuaded by the heavy campaign that pro-life forces are waging against RFK decided to go on the other side. So those are the 2 things I'm really looking at coming up this week.
So I also want to ask you about this because we have been hearing a lot of conversation about tariffs. President Trump saying that he is going to consider tariffs against Canada and Mexico 25% as early as February 1st. And we are now just days away from that happening. This is understandably a political strategy. He wants both of the countries to step up, to take more action when it comes to illegal immigration and stemming the flow of illegal drugs. What is he looking to do politically as he makes this statement, sending that very strong signal?
Well, I think what he wants is he wants to see action from both of them. It would not surprise me if he either pushed that back a little bit or maybe he levied a 5% tariff on either of them or both of them to say that there will be more coming if you don't do more to control your borders with us. Of the 2, it certainly seems that Mexico is quietly being more helpful than Canada. Probably is not good for Canadian relations for Trump to be musing about annexing it or making it the 51st state. Canadians are very good friends of America, but they're very proud of their independence and their own history, and that doesn't make them more likely to want to help the United States on the things the United States cares about. So I think what he's trying to do is send a signal. He's trying to provide encouragement. And again, it wouldn't surprise me if on February 1st, maybe he levies a 5% tariff against Mexico, but a 10% tariff against Canada, saying Canada hasn't done enough, and hold that final 15 or 20% back for, and if you don't approve, this is where we're going.
And speaking of immigration, this continues to dominate the headlines. President Trump, in the first few hours, issuing executive orders. He worked to ban birthright citizenship. Last week, a Seattle federal judge temporarily blocked that. When it comes to what President Trump can do, if the federal judge temporarily blocks that, what is the legal recourse that President Trump can do as he looks to enact his agenda?
This is one of the most aggressive things that the president is doing, is that what he's saying is that I have the ability to interpret the Constitution by myself and present a authoritative interpretation for the purposes of the executive branch. And I think that is on dubious legal grounds, whether or not the 14th Amendment was incorrectly interpreted back in the 19th century when the Supreme Court did make the ruling that has since allowed for birthright citizenship. I think what this means is it's going to go up to the courts. It's going to be appealed. It's going to eventually get to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is going to decide what the 14th Amendment's clause about citizenship, people being born in and subject to the jurisdiction of the United States, are citizens. I think they're going to decide whether their 1890s era case was correctly decided. That'll come down probably sometime in 2026 or early 2027, unless there's an expedited appeal schedule that goes all the way up through the appellate court system.
Already, it's been a very busy first week for President Trump as we look ahead to this coming week in the coming months. Politically, what are you keeping a very close eye on? Because President Trump, as he promised, is coming in full force, not wasting any time in acting his agenda.
Yeah, there's a couple of things I'm looking at. First of all, there are elements of Trump's agenda that divide the Republican coalition. And so far, he has not moved forward on those tariffs. And one of them is that there's many Republicans who support his tariff moves. There's many people in his coalition that are vehemently opposed to it. He has not acted on that with respect to China, to much surprise. Then you have something that I don't expect in the next week. I expect that at some point in March, he's going to have to move on. There's Republicans who want dramatic cutbacks. There's Republicans who want dramatic increases in defense spending. There's Republicans everywhere in between. Should we try and do something new in a federal program to help the working class? These are divisive issues in the coalition, and he doesn't have to address them in his budget, but he will have to address them in his budget and his health. And that's something that I'm looking at. Where does he come down on the issues that will divide his coalition? So far, his executive orders largely operate in the realm of issues that unite his coalition. And in that sense, it's very shrewd to do that.
And let's also talk about TikTok, because TikTok was temporarily halted last week, and President Trump then issued this delay in enacting it, saying that they would find a way for there to be, a U.S. buyer. As you take a look at that, because of course there's also not just the strategy, but also the relationship with China. As we look at it in terms of the geopolitical dynamics, what do you make of that?
That's tragic.
Whether a deal can be made.
I think what he is signaling both with that and with his stated desire to visit China.
You sound stupid. Mm-hmm. Mug just got smoked out. Now they about to get buried in fucking. Now they about to get flooded out. That's wild. Yeah, give me my life back, fucker. Shit.
And now it's available for everyone.
Yes, and damage. Holy. I'm grant you righteous. Insane creature. You know.
It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone. It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.
Now that I know this is here, oh yeah, that's game time now. I can just come in here and dump.
It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.
Okay, bet. This is a grinding spot right here, baby. Oh, wow.
It's the most tremendous new music experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.
%. You to permanently enchant a melee weapon to have a chance to heal you. That enchant?
And now it's available for everyone.
It's 100 jizzles. That enchant on fucking that would be on what? On my girl? Crushing.
It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.
Oh, it's open already. That goes right along with Destiny.
It's the most tremendous
Somebody outside fighting them.
you can have. And now it's available for everyone. It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.
That's dead. You're dead. Alright. That shit is fucking overplayed. Alright, cool. Alright, got another fucking fragment piece. Obama officially getting divorced? Is that really happening? Oh shit.
Again, with a look at some of your top headlines. Much needed rain is falling in Southern California today, aiding firefighters as they try to prevent another major flare-up. But there are worries that heavy rain over the next few days could trigger mudslides in charred, dry neighborhoods. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas swore in home as Homeland Security Secretary late Saturday. He resigned as North Dakota's governor upon Senate confirmation, succeeded then by Lieutenant Governor Larry Roden. And in Israel, 4 more hostages are back home this weekend from Hamas captivity in Gaza after an exchange for hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. In a moment, we're going to get reactions from Senators Tom Cotton and Richard Blumenthal. But first, we turn to Fox News chief foreign correspondent Trey Ying on the ground in Israel. Hello, Trey.
Shannon, good morning. After 477 days of waiting, 4 Israeli hostages were released from Hamas captivity on Saturday. The women were paraded through Gaza City across the stage before they were taken into the custody of the Red Cross. Emotional moments as the Israeli soldiers reunited with their family members along the Gaza border before being flown to a hospital in central Israel. The exchange was the second of phase 1 of the ceasefire agreement. It also included the release of nearly 200 Palestinian prisoners. Some of those prisoners were released into waiting crowds in the West Bank city of Ramallah, while dozens more of the violent offenders were exiled into Egypt. The current ceasefire deal is in jeopardy as the Israelis wait for a list of remaining hostages set to be freed in the first round of the deal and then released for other civilians that are being held inside Gaza, including one female from the community of Nir Oz, believed to be alive. In response, Israel has reportedly paused the ability for Palestinians to return to northern Gaza from the south, a key part of the agreement. Yesterday, President Trump said he is asking Egypt and Jordan to open their borders to allow Palestinians to go there, while Gaza is being cleared of Hamas and rebuilt. Trump left open the idea that this could be a temporary or long-term solution. The statement drew reactions in Gaza.
That was the last call by the U.S. President Donald Trump is completely rejected. Completely. If he thinks he will forcefully displace the Palestinian people, this is impossible. Impossible. The Palestinian people firmly believe that this land is theirs. This soil is their soil.
There is hope that the current agreement could lead to a broader peace across the region, ushered in by President Trump and his team, but the new administration faces an uphill battle. Shannon?
Trey Yanks live in Israel. Trey, thank you. News correspondent Lucas Tomlinson covering the president's trip out west.
Shannon, President Trump returns to Nevada, one of the states he won in his 7 swing state sweep. Here in Las Vegas, home to some of the largest hotels in the world, the president had a message for his supporters in the service industry. He wants to scrap their taxes on tips.
We're going to have no tax on tips from now on. Many of these workers are some of the very citizens who were hit hard and very hard by the ravages of the Biden economy, which is inflation.
Before arriving in Las Vegas, Trump's first stop on his first trip since returning to the White House, Western North Carolina, toured the communities ravaged by Hurricane Helene. Next, he visited Los Angeles, where California Governor Gavin Newsom unexpectedly showed up for Trump's arrival. Touring the devastation by air, Trump thanked first responders, later sat down with local leaders, including LA Mayor Karen Bass. She sparred over letting homeowners begin repairing the damage. Not contractors, which Trump says could slow down recovery efforts.
They are saying they will not be allowed to start for 18 months.
No, that will not be.
Okay, I just hope
That will not. You can hold me to. No.
That would be they should be able to start tonight.
That will not be the case.
Trump said he expects to sign a new executive order to overhaul FEMA or get rid of it entirely. The commander-in-chief also getting rid of 17 inspector generals, including those at the Pentagon and State Department. Response split among party lines.
Sometimes inspector generals don't do the job that they are supposed to do. Some of them deserve to be fired.
One more example of a lack of respect for the rule of law. We saw it earlier when President Trump pardoned all the January 6th rioters to get rid of independent inspectors. How is any of this going to lower grocery prices?
After Pete Hegseth was sworn in as defense secretary, many Republicans want swifter confirmations, beginning with Trump's pick to lead the Treasury Department. Hearings, Tulsi Gabbard and RFK Jr. Shannon?
All right, Lucas Tomlinson from Vegas. Thank you very much. And joining us now, he's got a brand new book out, by the way, next entitled 7 Things You Can't Say About China. And so see if we can get to any of those 7 in this conversation. We're definitely going to talk about China, but I want to ask you about the book right there, the inspiring the President General. I've heard of from some of your Jewish colleagues who are talking about didn't get the proper notification, even if ultimately it would be, the notice wasn't there, and is President Trump signaling he's just going to, observe which laws he wants to and not others?
Well, Shannon, time and time again, the Supreme Court has said that Congress can't impose the president's power to remove officers. In Trump's first term, he removed the director of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau, despite limitations on the president's constitutional power to remove officers. That was litigated at the Supreme Court, and the president won. The inspectors general serve at the pleasure of the president. He wants new people in there. He wants people to focus on getting out and abuse. He's right there to get in there pretty much.
Do you think he will? That's the next question, because there have been times when the Inspector General slots have been left open by various presidents. Are you confident, because they're your eyes and they will be filled?
I believe so, and he says he wants to fill those offices. Maybe he won't fill them immediately because it's an entire administration staff, and he may have other priorities. But I think the president's inherent power to remove officers will be upheld if it's challenged in court, as it has been time and again.
Hey, love.
Democratic and Republican presidents alike.
I want to ask you about the Middle East. 4 more hostages home. You've been critical of this deal. You've had some concerns about it. It came together, seems like, an approach from President Biden and President Trump. Are you confident in the deal moving forward? The fact that there is progress, we are getting these people home.
Well, of course, we welcome home these hostages, and you can't help but be overjoyed in your heart to see families welcoming them back.
Yes, everybody gonna be drunk and
Negotiate with terrorists. Hamas was on its back foot. They're not destroyed. They were almost destroyed. After Hiroshima and Nagasaki, we can negotiate with the Bureau of Japan, who said unconditional surrender and give us our 40,000 Americans back. And that's it. The deal is underway. We've tried to break the terms of the deal, and that's apparently yesterday. That's what the Israelis the bill defending. That's one reason why the Israeli government has paused the relocation of Gazans to certain areas of Gaza. I would say in response to ceasefire, they need to respect every single term of that deal.
Well, we're watching minute by minute. There's 2 other phases still yet to be negotiated as well. I want to ask you about these hearings this week. Your Senate Intel Committee that you now chair will hear from Tulsi Gabbard, She's got plenty of critics out there from both. We read from former chairman of the U.S. National Intelligence Council citing that she's got no background in intelligence whatsoever, has never managed much of anything. Even more worryingly, as someone meant to advise the president and protect our nation's secrets from our adversaries, Gabbard has cozied up to at least 2 vicious dictators who are America's enemies. There are concerns about her positions with Bashar al-Assad, Edward Snowden, her use of tools and how she feels about them. Are you confident that you've had your questions on those issues?
Yeah, I've had many occasions to speak with Ms. Gabbard, as have the members of the committee and other senators. We got her background checked back along with her financial papers last week. We promptly scheduled a hearing 7 days later as the rules of our committee allow. And I can promise you and all Americans that Tulsi Gabbard is going to have a full hearing on Thursday. It's going to be just like the hearing that we conducted for John Ratcliffe and the hearings that the committee has conducted for nominees for both Democratic and Republican presidents alike. No more, no less, no better, no worse. I understand that people have their differences of opinion with Ms. Gabbard. Probably some Republicans disagree with the vote she's cast as a Democratic Congresswoman. A lot of Democrats may be upset that she finally saw the light and left the Democratic Party. I do hope, though, that we won't see anyone questioning her patriotism. You know, Hillary Clinton has basically called her a traitor in the past. This is a woman who served more than 20 years in our nation's army. She's passed 5 different background checks. I reviewed the latest one. It's clean as a whistle. It's fine for people to have policy differences and ask questions about those differences. I hope no one would insult patriotism or her integrity.
There are reports in both Axios and National Review quoting senators saying they think she might not even make it out of committee. I mean, are there things about her conversation, her position in regard to Assad, to Putin, that raise any concern?
I think there's a lot of people making predictions about the background about the president's nominees that don't come true. Pete Hegseth, early December, was on the verge of withdrawing, being replaced by someone, and Secretary Hegseth, the Department of Defense. They've been making a lot of similar predictions about Donald Trump over the last 2 years. He's now staged the greatest political comeback in American history. So again, we'll have a full and fair hearing from Ms. Gabbard on Thursday. She'll be able to explain her past statements and her votes. She'll explain, I'm sure, also that whatever her views on certain policies, programs, or laws, that she will faithfully execute the president's agenda. And if she's confirmed, she'll give an unbiased and unvarnished look at the intelligence that comes in every day about the nation's threats.
And one of those threats, you've been long vocal about it. President Trump seems to be willing to pause the ban, to work out a deal. There are different conversations conversations about when they come together, but he's indicating he may be willing to allow some level of Chinese ownership or connection to this. And he gives this explanation to our colleague, Sean Kennedy, about why.
But you can say that about everything made in China. Look, we have our telephones made in China for the most part. We have so many things made in China, so why don't they mention that?
Your response.
Well, the law that we passed last year is in effect, and the law is law, and it imposes ruinous consequences on any company that continues to host or distribute TikTok. Not just, at this point, not just liability, but bankruptcy, because the penalties are so high that most medium-sized countries couldn't pay them. So I want to commend those companies like Apple and Google that are following TikTok. But our point is, in the United States, it was enforced by against its parent company that's controlled by the Chinese communists. They have a TikTok that is not influenced by Chinese communists. It's not just a threat to our privacy and data, although it certainly is that. It's a threat because it spreads propaganda, content. It exposes children to extreme violence, obscenity, drug use, even encourage suicide, and it can be used as an actual tool of statecraft, as you saw when Congress passed the law. TikTok sent push notices to its users' phones, urging them to contact Congress and lobby against the law. What might they do if Donald Trump imposes tariffs on China, or in a moment of heightened tension around Taiwan? That's why it's critical that there be a complete and total break with communist China, and that's exactly what the law insists. As for a deal, I'm not really concerned about whether this American company or that American group of investors buys it, or for that matter, if we work with partners in places like Europe or the Middle East or East Asia. If it's controlled by an ally, it's very different than it's controlled by communist China.
Okay, I want to try to get to two quick things before you go. While we're on the subject of China, this was a headline from the New York Times yesterday. CIA now favors broccoli theory to explain origin. This was their headline in February of 2020. Senator Tom Cotton repeats fringe theory of coronavirus. Do you feel some level of justification?
Well, I said from the very beginning, when we came from that lab, I didn't have access to classified intelligence. Common sense, looked at the facts, understood what Chinese communists do. I'm glad that in the final days of the Biden administration, the CIA reached the same conclusion in public. The important thing now is that we have to make China pay for unleashing this plague on the world, just like we have to make them pay for stealing our jobs and harming American workers and businesses by doing things like imposing tariffs on them on strategically critical goods, or passing my legislation that would kill their permanent most favored nation status.
All right, very cool. President Trump has sort of taken back this interview for a number of people, Anthony Fauci, Mike Pompeo, Brian Cook, among them John Bolton too. The Wall Street Journal editorial board says it's great if it won't happen, but what if one of them now gets attacked? If Iran is won't be able to receive some function.
I would encourage the president to revisit the decision for those people who are being targeted by Iran, as the president was targeted for assassination by Iran. As the chairman of the Intelligence Committee, I've reviewed the intelligence in the last few days. The threat to anyone involved in President Trump's strike on Qasem Soleimani is persistent. It's real. Iran is committed to vengeance against all of these people. In fact, the chief of staff of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence agreed with me that if these threats were against him or his family, that he would want security, because the threats are real. There are gaps in our coverage. We don't know what we don't know, and it's better to be safe than sorry, because it's not just about these men who helped President Trump carry out his policy in his first term. It's about their family and friends, innocent bystanders every time they're in public. It's also about the president being able to get good people and get good advice. If people are saying going to work for the president now on Iran or China or North Korea or the Mexican drug cartels, they might hesitate to do so, or they might hesitate if they're in office to give him the advice he needs or carry out the policies that he decides upon.
Senator, thanks for your time. We'll be watching Thursday for that hearing.
Thank you.
All right, up next with us, joining us now, Connecticut Senator Richard Blumenthal. Thank you very much, Senator, for being with us today.
Thank you.
I want to go back to the Middle East story, because I know that you've been in touch with the father of one of the Israeli-American hostages, Segi Dekoshen, who has been, we don't know his status. Do you know anything more about his condition, his status, when he may be released?
All we know is that Segi Dekoshen is among the 33 hostages who are on the list to be released. We're praying and working for the fulfillment of the ceasefire agreement. Senator Cotton is absolutely right. America should hold Hamas to that agreement, support Israel in insisting that every single provision gets a bipartisan agreement. I give President Trump a lot of credit, along with President Biden, for reaching it. And we need to keep our eye on the ball, because this ceasefire agreement can lead to normalization, expansion of the Abraham Accords, and a united front against the real adversary here, which is the
What do you think about something you've pretty vocal on, which has been in the headlines this week, work with these presidential pardons? You've got a couple of things, potentially a bill to introduce or to explain what and why and how they're doing this, and even talking about offering up a constitutional amendment, which would limit the ability of a president to pardon or commute some of these sentences. I want to ask you about one case in particular, because you know it well. He was Connecticut Attorney General when Adrian Peele was convicted on both state and federal charges, sent to prison. He was convicted in connection with the death of an 8-year-old little boy and his mom, because they'd apparently been witnesses to another shooting. It changed the laws in Connecticut, and the fact that Adrian Peele was commuted, was sentenced by President Biden, is being described as a miscarriage of justice, outrageous. You know the case very well. From anyone connected to the Biden administration, why he would have been commuted, and will apparently be out this summer.
I have no explanation. And the decision actually falls. I was the Attorney General of the state of Connecticut at the time that Adrian Peele was convicted of murdering a witness, an 8-year-old boy who was about to testify in a drug case. It was a miscarriage of justice, and frankly, as appalling to me as the pardons for 1,500 rioters who assaulted brutally, causing serious police. That decision by President Trump, I think, was equally, if not more, appalling to me. But the point here is that there have been mistakes on both sides. Democrat, Republican president, decisions are made in the shadows. They're a black box. Nobody knows why that decision on Adrian Peele was made. And many of these pardon decisions really cry out for more accountability and transparency. That's why I have introduced a bill. It's called the Pardon, Transparency, and Accountability Act that would establish some guardrails in regard to impact statements, notification to the victim and to the prosecutor, an explanation required of the press, disclosure of any law that occurred in connection with that pardon decision. Now, as you know, the pardon power is absolute. It's one of those rare, maybe unique powers that has no checks or balances. The founders kind of incorporated from the English monarchy, and in order to really establish some safeguards and guardrails, we need a constitutional amendment.
So, to be clear, though, none of the 1,500 J6 people were charged with killing an officer. There was definitely violence against an officer that was charged, but just so we're clear on that point, there's also this issue of pardons of his family members. Literally minutes before he left and President Biden was sworn in, John Yoo writes about that over at Newsweek. He says, it's because he fears the very lawfare that he invented. These pardons were to Biden's own benefit, as their recipients are much less likely to disclose any information that directly implicates the family's alleged, quote, pay to play 10% for the big guy scheme. There are Democrats who question the wisdom of President Biden doing that on the way out the door. Would your proposals, either of them, limit a president's ability to pardon family members?
It would require legislation I've offered that the president provide some explanation, some accountability. But let's be very clear. I am critical, one of those Democrats who said to the president, no preemptive pardons. They're not required, and they violate the pardon law. And I think what we need in legislation, as well as ultimately the constitutional amendment, is greater transparency and accountability for the president, so that Congress has a role. And like my state of Connecticut, there's a board of specific criteria, outside judgment, and a kind of that apply to other decisions. And while we're on the topic of transparency, Just to add a note on the firing of inspectors general, Senator Cotton's absolutely right that the president has broad inherent power to fire officials in the executive branch. But with respect to inspectors general, there is a specific law that requires notice, 30 days, and a statement of substantive details, rationale. And that law plainly has not been complied with here. I challenge my Republican colleagues, many of them strong advocates of inspectors general, Senator Ernst and Grassley, who have been powerful and eloquent advocates of these watchdogs and bulwarks against corruption and waste, to speak out and join me in opposing these firings. And Elon Musk ought to be also joining, because he's against wasteful spending.
Which is often their assignment in these different agencies. So Senator Grassley, you mentioned him. He said there may be a good reason that they were. We need to know that. He wants further explanation, he says, from President Trump. He said, regardless, that 30-day detailed notice of removal that the law demands was not provided to Congress. I talked to some other folks who are part of this caucus that you are part of. They sound like as well. Are you confident, though, with your colleagues? Because you have Senator Grassley here speaking out. Do you think others will too? This caucus is brand new that you guys have on the Inspectors General.
We formed this caucus because Inspectors General do controversial work. They say and blow the whistle when there has been abuse or waste or corruption. There is a bulwark against that kind of wasteful spending, and that's the reason why Michael will and support. And I'm disappointed in Republicans so far that they haven't spoken out. You know, many of these inspectors general have been very critical of the Democratic administration. I'm the ranking member on the Veterans Affairs Committee. Mike Missel, who was the Inspector General for the VA, was very critical of a number of decisions under the Biden administration of the VA. Michael Horowitz of Justice did a report that was very critical of decisions under the Democratic administration. They are bipartisan, independent, and we need to preserve that support for them. I challenge my Republican colleagues and the president to reverse this decision.
Well, we've asked the White House too for more comments, so we'll see what we get on that front. Senator, thank you for making time to come in this morning.
Thank you.
All right, President Trump, wasting his time issued executive orders aimed at shutting down the flow of illegal migrants into the country, including sending troops to the border and an effort to end birthright citizenship. But what do the courts have to say about all of this? Our legal panel on the battles ahead, they are next. Playing out. I mean, is there a commandeering? Is there a cooperation? Is it don't resist, don't block our federal efforts? Who's in the right?
Well, let's see. It certainly is true that under our Constitution, the federal government cannot commandeer or conscript state officials into serving federal policies. But at the same time, state officials cannot act in a way that obstructs or thwarts federal immigration policy, including law enforcement. And you can't have a universe in which the federal government is attempting to enforce the laws of the United States, including the immigration laws, and you have state or local officials taking every step to undermine that activity, to thwart federal policy, to prevent the implementation of federal law. So I do think the Constitution is pretty clear here. I haven't seen anything in this slate of executive orders that suggests that the administration is overstepping that constitutional line by trying to commandeer or to conscript state officials into service.
So, Jonathan, you've heard this language from Stephen Miller this week talking about, hey, listen, there are laws out there against harboring illegal immigrants and those kinds of things. DOJ can pursue for potential possibilities against, whether civil or criminal, against state or local officials. I don't know what that means, actual prosecutions, but there's also language in the executive order about cutting off federal funding to these places as well. What potential dangers could these leaders legally face in these sanctuary cities and states?
Well, there's nothing in the Constitution that requires the federal government to fund its own demise. You don't have to give the money if it's being used to
undermines federal policy. The key here with the anti-commandeering principle is there's got to be a strong nexus, and it has to be limited. If you deny, all federal funds to a city or state, it very well can trigger the anti-commandeering doctrine. You have to be focused. You have to have that nexus to say, look, you're trying to get Justice Department funds when you are interfering with the Justice Department enforcing federal law. There's a lot of funding within those parameters I think they can use. In terms of officials who are actively subverting efforts, yeah, they can cross the line as well. It's often a very difficult line for courts to divine. But there is peril here for state officials, both in terms of their budgets, but also in terms of their individual actions. And everyone's going to have to be very careful to stay within the navigational beacons of their authority.
So let's turn to birthright citizenship, because this is another thing that President Trump said that he was going to try. And we've got this executive order saying you don't get automatic U.S. citizenship simply by being born here. Here's what the 14th Amendment says. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. Now, the ACLU is sounding very bullish on their chance to win. There are numerous lawsuits. The thing has already been stayed by a federal judge in Seattle. They say this: we will not let this attack on newborns go unchallenged. The Trump administration's overreach is so egregious that we are confident we will ultimately prevail. Tom, those for will they?
Well, I don't think they're going to meet with a whole lot of success in the lower courts. It has been fairly well settled law for a long time that birthright citizenship is encompassed within the court. You're right. The Supreme Court is ultimately going to be the decider of this issue. And I think that the Trump administration, their argument is going to have to be that things have changed. That, yes, back when the 14th Amendment was enacted, there was an understanding that if you were legal aliens in this country and you had a child, that child would have birthright citizenship. But the argument would now have to go that things have changed. We are under an invasion, and that the rules of the game have changed, and that just as back when the 14th Amendment was passed, people would not extend birthright citizenship to, say, children born to soldiers who have invaded the United States, it shouldn't be extended in this circumstance. My personal view is I think it's a fairly bold and audacious legal argument. They've already encountered a lot of pushback from some lower federal judges, but at the end of the day, it's the United States Supreme Court that's going to sort out whether or not the 14th Amendment still means what we've always thought it is.
So, Jonathan, is there a victory in the courts for the Trump administration, or is this going to be sort of you got to amend the Constitution if you want to change how the 14th Amendment has been understood for the most part until now?
I think the initial argument of the Trump administration might be a little bit different in the sense that you have an amendment that has clarity on both ends, that if you're born in this country, you are a citizen. But in the middle are these 6 maddening words that people have been debating over since it was first enacted or ratified. And I think that members of the Supreme Court may want to look at that. When the 14th Amendment was drafted, some of the individuals involved in that process, some of the members of Congress, said that they believed it did not extend birthright citizenship. And that has really fueled a lot of this debate. Tom said the law itself coming out of the courts has been fairly stable since then. But this hasn't had a lot of treatment by the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court could adopt a different interpretation. But the Trump administration may win either way. That is, if they lose in the courts, this is going to be playing out right before the midterms. Most citizens, it seems like in polls, the majority of citizens do not approve of birthright citizenship. We're in the minority of countries recognizing birthright citizenship. And that may be what the Trump administration is looking for. If they lose in the courts, they could start a constitutional amendment campaign. And this is a wedge issue that they might invite.
Yeah, sometimes the legal loss is a political win. As President Trump could attest, he's now president again. Okay, Jonathan and Tom, thank you very much. Always great to see you guys.
Thank you.
Up next, President Trump says FEMA's days may be numbered as he tours disaster zones across the country. Our Sunday panel weighs in on the fate of that federal agency and a slew of presidential action in week 1.
Wow. What's up, buddy? No, 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 no.
Come see us live on tour and be in Los Angeles, Dallas, Texas, Austin, Baltimore, Hartford, Syracuse, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, and Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.
The COVID vaccine, the CDC is now saying there have been enough cases of people who have had the vaccine, received the vaccine, and then suffered a stroke. The agency will now be investigating any potential links between the shots and strokes in some of those patients.
Okay, no big deal. We don't know what it is. So Chief Nerd caught this. So the CNBC guy, this guy, they bring on, he has a lot of questions about why people are being sick now, why cancer on the rise, and he has a suspicion that it might have something to do with the vaccine. It's crazy. So who does he bring on to ask about this? The former head of the FDA, Scott Gottlieb. And guess where Scott Gottlieb works now? He's on the board of Pfizer. Of course. Again, this is the exact thing RFK Jr. is trying to fight against. And that's why they have to call him crazy and cuckoo. And CNBC, they bring on the guy right from Pfizer, who used to be the head of the FDA. By the way, when the newspapers talk about Scott Gottlieb, when the news organization, they refer to him as former FDA director. They don't go, guy who just went from the FDA directly to millions of dollars at the Pfizer. Right. They don't say current Pfizer, they say former FDA. It's amazing. But anyway, so he's going to ask him. So watch this.
On a serious note, I think it's a friend of mine watching, love you.
And so I just want to let you know,
On a serious note,
the difference between what this guy does and what I do is insane. That's the difference. Yeah, he gets the great Scott Gottlieb on.
Friend of mine, if you're watching, I love you. Diagnosed stage 3 breast cancer yesterday. Okay. A buddy of mine texted buddy of mine was in the hospital for 3 days. Got out yesterday or 2 days ago. RSV lung. I know I'm getting old. I know we're all getting old. Is it just me or is everybody like the level of RSV, pneumonia, all this stuff going around? Strokes, breast cancer, New York Times for the story of breast cancer, spiking. Doctor, can you give us an answer? You know what's wrong? A lot of people point to COVID, maybe even the COVID vaccine.
Maybe even the COVID vaccine. Well, I think you have your tinfoil hat on a little too tight because no, there's nothing different from before. Little kids have always just grabbed their chest with a heart attack in classroom. That's all. We were just tougher back then, Kurt, and we didn't talk about it. That's all. Just funny. And it was probably flat. Here we go.
Calm down. What is? Yeah, look, we don't know is the answer.
We don't. Oh, we don't know. We don't know.
Can we speculate?
So Scott Gottlieb, corrupt criminal, who used to be a corrupt criminal heading the FDA, is now a corrupt criminal at Pfizer, and he's on CNBC. Why? Because Pfizer gives truckloads of money to CNBC so he can come on and bullshit people. And the truckloads of money are there so they don't bring on someone like me or Dr. Robert Malone or Dr. Pierre Corey to go and to debunk him. So that's why there's no one there to push back on him when he says, we don't know. Let's just watch this again. This is beautiful.
All right, guys. I'm gonna take a small little 10 minute break. I'll be back. I'm gonna just get about this building first, cause
Close family members of mine have had it. A buddy of mine just had a stroke. Non-COVID. Buddy of mine was in a hospital for 3 days. Got out yesterday or 2 days ago. RSV pneumonia. I know I'm getting older. I know we're all getting older. Is it just me or is everybody sick? Like the level of RSV, pneumonia, all this stuff going around, strokes, breast cancer. New York Times did a story on breast cancer spiking. Doctor, can you give us an answer to why? Because you know where I'm going with this. A lot of people point to COVID and maybe even the COVID vaccine.
Maybe even.
They don't know. What is it?
Yeah, look, we don't know is
We
the
don't
answer.
know.
Some cancers are going up, you're right. Colon cancer in particular, the incidence has been going up, particularly
Especially
in young
under
people.
30. Yep.
Right. So we don't understand that. Some people believe it's related to changes in the U.S. diet.
Oh, some people, like what? The people who make vaccines think that? Some people.
As far as the infectious disease that's going around, we have had a difficult season with flu, with COVID, with RSV. Those rates look like they're coming down across most of the...
See, look how they refer to him. They don't go, Scott Gottlieb, corporate whore, working for Pfizer spokesman. They refer to him as a CNBC contributor. So part of his, I guess he must get a check from CNBC, why? Because that money comes right from Pfizer.
Oh, does he pay CNBC to pretend he's a good doctor?
I guess so.
He's contributing.
Dr. Scott Gottlieb, when was the last time you treated a patient? That'd be my first question.
Yeah, well, Dr. Jill Biden, when was the last time she treated a patient?
Here we go.
Country right now, with the exception of norovirus, which is still going up. The strain of norovirus that's circulating right now is a new strain, so a lot of people probably don't have baseline immunity to it, and that's why you're seeing so many people getting it and so many people getting sick. That's about the incidence of
whatever you think, it's definitely not because the boosters wreck your immune system and make you more susceptible to catching viruses. That's not what it is. If that's what you're thinking, that's definitely not. Even though the Cleveland Clinic did a study that showed the more boosters you took, the more likely you were to contract the virus, the more likely you were to get sick. That's been buried. We don't talk about that anymore. That's not real. And it's definitely not the fact that the two people who were in charge, the 30-year-long employees of the FDA in charge of the vaccine department at the FDA resigned over the booster program. It's definite. And then they got replaced by who? A couple of schlubs like him, a couple of corrupt liars like him. They got rid of so if you're anybody who stands up and says something like, hey, I don't think the boosters aren't good and this is bad, you resign, they just replace you with a tool, a willing tool. So that's what happened there. But it's definitely not because of the boosters. It's definitely not because they wreck your immune system. Like Dr. Robert Malone said, they had a good chance of doing on our show in 2021, when no one else was pushing back against the COVID narrative. He said just because one vaccine is good doesn't mean 2 is better and 3 is best. They could wreak havoc on your. They could have deleterious effects on your immune system. It's definitely not that, though. I'm just letting you know. There's some people out there thinking, is it because the boosters are screwing up people's immune system and making it? Remember when Mika told Joe Scarborough that, wait, after you got your booster, you got COVID, you were sick for months. Remember that? It's got nothing to do with that. That's all just anecdotal evidence. That if you piled it up, it would reach the moon. But that's just it doesn't matter.
I hope Scarborough kept taking boosters. I hope he did.
I hope me too.
Coronavirus right now is probably 2x what it was in the last 5 years in prior seasons. So there is more of that going around right now.
Let me ask you a difficult question. Did we hurt ourselves in some ways by avoiding stuff for so long that now these super bugs have been created? Otherwise, I'm just not sure what...
Those super bugs are created in a lab in Wuhan. Lots of them also in Ukraine. I don't know. That's why the pardons go back to 2014. That's when we overthrew the government of Ukraine. And then Joe Biden got appointed ahead of Ukraine policy for the United States, and that's when Hunter Biden got his job, his no-show job on the energy board. That's when Joe Biden made sure that the government had to fire the investigator investigating Burisma, where Hunter Biden worked. You know, all that stuff.
Remember that Hunter took his dick to an Asian wet market, so to speak?
This guy, who I appreciate he at least asked the question. I like his Pat Zajac haircut.
Yeah.
The guy, I'm jealous that, you know, his hair dye looks fantastic. I'm jealous of guys who are brunette. Anyway.
Really?
Yes. Anyway, he at least he brings it up. But of course, he works for a corrupt organization that's corrupted by Big Pharma money, and he's asking a guy who's on the board of Big Pharma, Pfizer, and they pretend he's not because they say he's a CNBC. They call him doctor, and he's a contributor. Then they go, oh, Biden, he's the guy from the vaccine maker. They don't say that.
Not quite proven. On behalf of.
And then he tries to find another. Is it because we locked down and that created super bugs, or could it be that we're actually
my whole family's dead? Do you think there's a connection? There's not.
Could it be that we're actually creating super bugs in laboratories all around the world right now? Could that be it, or is it that we locked down? I bet it's that we locked down. He doesn't even bring up the fact that we're literally creating. The former head of the CDC said that the only way this bird flu is going to be able to jump is if they do gain-of-function research on it. Remember we played that video of him saying that?
Yeah.
And they're doing that research right now. By the way, I hate that they call it research. It's not research. They're doing science fuckery. It's not research. Nobody wants gain-of-function research. Barack Obama stopped it. And then Fauci went around him. Nobody wants it. So kudos to this guy.
I'm sure Obama was cool with it, though.
Yeah.
I'm sure, it's not like Obama was like, hey, did you keep doing it?
Yeah, well, with the flu season, RSV, and COVID this year,
All right, I'm going to take a small break. I'll be back, everybody.
What we've seen. available for everyone. It's the most tremendous new musical experience you can have. And now it's available for everyone.